Hi guys, welcome to the Language Dad YouTube channel. My name is Johnny. In today's video we're going to be talking all about one of the most commonly used words when it comes to language learning, which I actually think is a little bit of a red herring, and that word is fluency. So when people understand that I'm really obsessed with languages, they want to know how many languages I speak, so I've just recorded a video about that. That will also be up on the channel, so you can find that on the channel homepage really easily. How many languages do I currently speak as of December 2025? One of the things that a lot of people also are interested in is how many languages do you speak fluently? So fluently, what do we actually mean by fluently? Well, if you look into this, it's a bit of a contested term actually, and the contested term means it's actually up for a debate, because fluently, obviously, if you think about this, it comes from the idea of water moving fluently through something. So it's the idea of if you're fluent in something, particularly in languages, it's the idea, from my perspective of it, the original word meaning of it is that you're able to just communicate in that language without it causing you particularly any stress, and without having any particular blockages to your ability to just communicate. So when you're first learning a language, obviously from scratch, and particularly one that has no relation to your own native language, then you are definitely not fluent. So what do we mean by that? Well, what we mean by that is you'll be attempting to understand different words that the other people are talking about. You'll be putting them through, probably in most people's cases, the filter of their own language in their head, trying to think when you're constructing sentences, trying to think about how you're saying things and where it's going, and you get those sort of feelings of I don't know what word to say. That sort of things come up in your head, and then you get these little blocks going on. We're going to talk about how to get rid of a lot of these things as well, but this is a lot of people's experience of language learning to begin with at the first, especially, as I say, in languages unrelated to their own. They're going to be trying to say things and it's not coming out, and it's sort of, there's blocks to that ability to just speak like I am now in English. So fluency then, what do we actually count by that? Well, we count it as, for some people, for me, for example, that ability to just flow words through in a way that is coherent, makes sense, and can be understood by people who speak that language. So, for example, I would say that I am, by that definition, definitely by that definition, fluent auf Deutsch, in German. Das für mich ist es ganz einfach, Deutsch zu sprechen, es ist ein Teil von mir, keine Probleme mit Deutsch zu sprechen, ich kann sehr schnell sprechen, ich kann in den Nerven alles verstehen. Ja, ich mache Fehler, viele Fehler, aber das ist für mich ist es nicht eine wichtige Ding. Es ist kein Problem. Ich kann Deutsch sprechen, es ist kein Problem. Es ist nicht stressig. Ich fühle mich kein Druck über was soll ich sagen? So you can see that. Obviously, if you don't understand German, you probably had no idea what I was on about, but you can see that. Hopefully you can see that that's a similar-ish speed and intensity and stuff that I was speaking in English prior to that. So what I was saying in German there is, I'm going to make loads of mistakes in German, but German's a part of me. This isn't exactly what I said word for word, but I don't feel stressed or under pressure when I'm speaking German. It just sort of comes out. I don't know what I'm necessarily going to say next, but I just can speak like I'm speaking now in this video. You can probably tell none of these videos are scripted, so it's just chatting away. I know what I want to say roughly, and I'll just say what I say, which obviously means, because it's my native language, that's obviously fluent in English. But you might have noticed what I said in German. If you're a German speaker, and I know we've got a lot of German speakers who listen to the channel, but also have said and explained them in English, is I make loads and 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 loads of mistakes in German. Loads. So if someone's definition of fluent in a language is this person is like a native speaker, or is able to understand almost pretty much exactly everything, and is able to make sense of and explain ridiculously complex ideas as if they were a native speaker, then absolutely not. There's kein Weg, dass das ich kann fließend Deutsch sprechen, wenn die definieren von fließend ist wie ein Muttersprachler. Nein, das kann nicht, das ist nicht mehr. Okay, also ich kann alles, was ich möchte sagen, normal, weil ich spreche Deutsch, aber wie du kannst sagen, dass ich habe, wie sagt man, normal, ich habe vor ein kleines Moment da ein Problem mit normal, aber es ist einfach. But you can see there, as I was doing that, it slowed down a tiny bit, and also I was trying to explain it. There's no way that I'm like that with German. I can't say really complex things, but you can see that's a perfect example there. I've been able to make a little mistake in my head, figure out something, change it, and still come out with things that someone who understood German would be like, well, there's no way they're a native speaker. They're making weird little mistakes. And like, what was that pause in the middle of it? But it's not going to slow down a conversation enough to be like really stinted, like it was like it would be if you were speaking to someone who couldn't understand or didn't speak your language really at all beyond the very early beginners level. For example, like if I was trying to speak Swedish to somebody, there'd be lots of gaps and I wouldn't understand loads of what they were saying. I'll try and say a few things, but like I'm not at the level where I can have a conversation in Swedish. So I say I'm definitely not fluent in Swedish, but I am fluent in German. By the definition of have a good chat, really like not slow things down too much, understand enough of what's going on to be able to clarify certain words, but be at a level which is easy to have a conversation. So if that's your definition of fluent, I like that because that's a lot less pressure than the definition of being like a native speaker. So to be like a native speaker, I mean, the difference between my level in German and a native speaker is massive, and the amount of hard work in terms of exposure to language and speaking on a daily basis and stuff to go from where I am to the point where you could be confused with a native speaker, you're gonna have to work insanely hard. I'd have to work insanely hard at my pronunciation. I'd have to work insanely hard a little bit at my word speed still, even though it's pretty good. It's not like a native level. I'd have to work ridiculously hard on my vocab, but all of that stuff is like, well, I personally would rather get to the level I am in German in a whole bunch of languages rather than seek to be perfect, as it were, in one or two languages. I want to be really conversational, which is my definition of fluent, in as many as possible, because I feel like for me, you get all the benefits of being able to communicate really well with people at that level. Obviously, for me, I don't need to learn a language for work. So if I needed to speak German for my job and I wanted to come across as professional, then I would need to do that work that I've just described. But because for me, language learning is a hobby, I'm using it to connect with people and chat to people and find out a bit more about their culture and their background and speak to them in their own languages, which people generally find a really nice thing for somebody to do, especially English people to do, because there's not that many English people who speak a range of languages. It's super cool for connections and stuff. And my level of German is easily fluent enough for that. But is it native? No. So going back to the original question, what do we mean by fluent? Are you somebody who's like, yeah, Johnny, fair, you're fluent in German because you can have a conversation, it's conversational, simple, you're not slowing people down too much, so happy days, you can call yourself fluent in German? Or are you someone who's like, no, absolutely not. You're definitely not fluent in German because you wouldn't be able to run a business meeting in German, you wouldn't be able to present an academic paper in German, you wouldn't be able to read and write in German to anything from my current level, probably anything beyond like a 7 or 8 year old, realistically, genuinely, because those are the skills I haven't really focused on at all. So how on earth could you consider yourself to be fluent in a language where that is your skill set? Well, it's up to you, no problem at all. As I say though, I feel there's a lot less stress and pressure if you're going to define fluent as conversational, not slowing people down, and also just means that there's no pressure of making mistakes, because mistakes aren't a part of fluency by my definition of fluency, because it's a contested term. What do we mean by it? It's up to you, I would argue. But plenty of other people would disagree, and I'd love to hear your views in the comments. Ciao for now, adios, buongiorno, schönen Tag noch.